certain actors, aren't there, that you just always enjoy watching. And have you noticed they always pop up on the same characters, basically playing the same person in every film? But you don't mind, do you? You just like their performances because they do it so well. A lot of people, way back in the golden days of the studio system, who I was lucky enough to interview, told me that simply what the studios did was, if you were successful in a musical, for instance, like Betty Grable, it was the same story over and over again until you tired of that, a little bit like a pop record. And then they decide, well, actually, now we'll move you into westerns. And then once they moved you into westerns and that's successful, then they might move you into the B list of sci-fi, stuff like that. But this particular gentleman, who I've admired for many years and has seen in so many films because he portrays that particular character so well, really did have a phenomenal career. And I was lucky enough to sit down with someone a while back who was lucky enough to work with him. So he shared his memories of this brilliant actor. As ever, who are we talking about? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here. Nice to see you, and as ever, nice to have your company. As I often say, it's good to look back at things and look at the people, because this particular gentleman, Anton Diffrin, well, yes, you know his face, don't you? Because he's been in all of those wonderful war films, the epics, When you think about it, he really sort of cornered the market in playing bad Nazis, didn't he? Let's be honest. But of course, he wasn't like that at all, according to Sylvester McCoy. Sylvester McCoy was a Doctor Who star and very successful in the 1980s, opposite another wonderful lady, Bonnie Langford. Now, Anton Diffrin did appear in a Doctor Who episode, and it was his very final work, sadly, before he passed away in 1989. Now, according to Sylvester, although he portrayed all of those Nazis terribly great in all of those war films, things like Where Eagles Dare with Clint Eastwood and Richard Burton, and of course Albert R.N. with the likes of Anthony Quayle and the brilliant Jack Warner, he didn't really like playing those roles at all. In fact, what he wanted to be was a musical comedy star. He finally got his wish by appearing opposite the brilliant comedian Frankie Howerd at the Prince of Wales Theatre in the early 60s. But sadly, it didn't really catch on with fans, and it closed very quickly. So he had to return to the characters that he became known for, particularly in things like The Colditz Story. Sylvester told me that because he was so good at playing menacing characters, when he slipped into character, he truly felt quite frightened of him as well. And Bonnie Langford backed this up too, which is amazing when you think. As I say, Anton was not what you would imagine at all, simply because he took those particular roles as he knew they would make him money, and he was constantly in work. But as he pointed out to Sylvester, what he was really looking for was to diversify, and also he decided to move over into France and find a nice little location place there in the hope that perhaps he could do European films where they didn't necessarily know him in this character. Guess what? He got those European films playing, guess what? Nazis and commandos and stuff like that. He just had that face, didn't he? And the reason why I wanted to share this particular story with you today is obviously there's going to be a brand new collection, a retrospective of his work coming here to London, and then on various what I call nostalgia channels around the world. Do look out for that, particularly I think in Decades TV over in the US. And it's strange, isn't it? Because when you watch films like this and you look at that face and you go, I know him, but you don't necessarily know, the name of the actor, do you? And then when you watch him again, you think, how brilliant was he? A Sylvester McCoy, who had a very successful run as Doctor Who over here, said that in fact bosses at one point apparently in the early 1960s considered Anton to take over the role of Doctor Who. But apparently, according to Inside Track, even the BBC bosses felt that he could be too frightening for children. Now truly, after the Daleks, could anything be more frightening than the Daleks? As ever, I'd love to know what you think to this particular story, and in fact the talent that was Anton Diffrin. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.